My Mother at 66 by Kamala Das. In this module, we'll see the overview about the author, recitation of the poem, analysis of the poem, and the usage of the literary devices. An overview of the poem. My Mother at 66 is a sensitive portrayal of a daughter's mental suffering and fear on seeing her mother, who is in her last years of life. This poem captures the anxiety and fears deeply embedded in the daughter's, that is, the poet's mind, in a very realistic way. The entire poem is written in one sentence, and it is scattered and interspersed with commas which hint at the flood of emotions of the poet. About the poet. Kamala Das was a renowned Anglo-Indian poet, literature, and a leading Malayalam author. She is India's one of the first poets. She wrote Malayalam short stories under the pen name Madhavi Kutty and English poems under the pseudonym Kamala Das. Her subject matter of her poetry is basically related to her personality, that is, beauty from inside, sensitivity, boldness, and tormented nature. External factors do not reflect in her writings. External factors of the society and all do not reflect in her writings. Her writings bring out only the true inner feelings of a woman, of her own. And her favorite poem is Composition. Now let us recite the poem. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, dozed, open-mouthed, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away and looked out at young trees sprinting, merry children spilling out of their homes. But after airport's security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan, pale as a late winter's moon, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear. But all I said was, "See you soon, Amma." All I did was smile and smile and smile. Now we'll see the analysis of the poem. Firstly, in the very first sentences of the poem, the poet is on her way to Cochin airport with her old mother sitting beside her. They are traveling in a car. Her mother is napping on her travel. As she looks at her mother's pale and placid face very closely, she is struck with the horror and pain of losing her. The author has got a fear of losing her mother. The reason is it takes her to the comparison of a corpse with her mother's face when she very closely observes the face of her mother. The mother with a dozing face and open mouth as she is napping in the travel is compared to a corpse. Something inside the poet, makes her compare the face of her mother with many fine lines and open mouth, and she looks barely breathing. So this takes the poet to compare her mother's face to a corpse. So the poet is pained and shifts her attention outside the car in order to drive out the negative feelings. The scene outside changes the sad mood of the poet. the scene is of the growing life and energy. That is she watches the rapidly sprinting trees alongside the merrily playing children, which symbolizes her life, youth, and vitality. So the poet is reminded of her childhood when her mother had been young. Now, where she is encircled with the fear of losing her, and that creates a deep pain in her heart. Then the poet and her mother has reached the airport to take a flight. The poet is going to take a flight. It indicates departure and separation, which creates melancholy, sadness, feeling inside both of the hearts. As she bids goodbye to her mother, the image of the old, wan, worn out mother in the twilight of years strikes her again. The mother is in the twilight of her years, so this brings a greater pain in the poet's mind. Here again there is a comparison of her mom to the late winter's moon, whose light is obstacled by fog and mist. Compared to the beginning early winter season, this late winter season has a lot of fog and mist. So during the late winter monsoon, that is season, moon's light is very much obstacled by the fog and mist. So this is a comparison to the mother's face again. As she looks old now, the mother has lost her personality, which is affected by her age. So the poet's childhood fear of losing her mother also evades her. That is, she feels that earlier the fear of losing her mother was temporary. She would have feared when she leaves her mother and walks into her school for the first time, and when her mother leaves her at the home and goes for a small shopping and all. During her childhood, the poet would have got fear. But now the poet is very clear that the earlier fear was very temporary, but now she feels a deeper pain and ache in her heart that could be forever, as she could die of old age. She is so pained that it is natural for her to cry, and this is a time of separation also. They are not at home. This is a time of separation that the poet takes a flight. But keeping a brave friend, that is keeping a brave face outside, she hides her tears and smiles to her mother. In the end, she bids farewell to her mother, and keeping her hope of seeing her again alive, says, "See you, Amma, soon." She hides her sorrow as she does not want to create a painful environment for her mother. She overcomes her pain and is being very brave, which is indicated by the use of repetition in the poem. Smile and smile and smile. Through this, she tries to convey her emotions, not words, that she is happy, and similarly her mother should also be happy. So there ends the explanation of the picturesque lines of the poem. Now we'll see the poetic devices used in the poem. There are two poetical devices, that is simile and repetition. Simile is used in two lines, that is, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and at her wan pale as late winter's moon. Repetition is smile and smile and smile. So there we have come to the end of the poem.